My name is Antonisha, and I teach at San Diego State, and Contra was one of my students, and she invited me here to give a speech. And honestly, I'm going to have to keep it real with y'all. I've been going through so much, I couldn't get myself to sit down and write an entire speech about everything that has been happening. So I decided that I was going to speak from the heart and sort of speak about some of the things I think we've all been feeling. I don't have any answers, and that's just a fact. I don't know if any of us have answers to what's been going on, but I know that we are all hurt, and black people and people of color and people in general that's oppressed by the system, we go through extreme trauma, and it's something really disgusting about having to tell my oppressors that I was killed. You see a video of me being killed, and I have to explain to you, listen, no, I was extrajudicially killed by you. And then what happens after I'm killed, I have to get on TV and tell you I forgive you. Right now, I'm not very religious, but I understand the power of forgiveness. But what happens is that we get to that too quickly, way too quick. Allow me to hurt. I'm pissed off. I'm angry. Let me cry, let me be mad, and I'm not going to forgive you so easily, not this time, I'm sorry. Because what happens is this, you do it over and over again, and some of those people don't even understand what's happening to us. I mean, it's interesting when you watch Fox News and CNN and even MSNBC, where people can't get to grips of we're being murdered without no cause by agents of the state that we pay taxes to. We're being paid. We're basically being paid or paying someone to literally murder us. And that's not just it. We're also being constantly harassed. I can't tell you how many times I sit in the car with my husband, who's black, my king, and we're just trying to go get some food or some groceries or some drink, whatever you want to do, right? You know, that's our lives. And if a police come behind us, we are flinching. I feel this overwhelming amount of fear because I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to be on some power shit, some ego power trip, or if he's going to, actually do his job, which is, maybe fighting or trying to hold crime at bay. But let me tell you about this whole idea about police doing their job. From my view, it seems as if they actually have been doing their job. See, I want to problematize that for a bit because the police they originated from slave patrols. How many people knew that? Right? So you had white enslavers who created a system where other poor white men went out and brought back their property, enslaved African people, right? So essentially, the police, they have been tools for the white elite. And it has to get to the point where even individuals who are police officers have to say, I can't deal with this. I'm not going to be a part of this system that has, for the last 400 years, oppressed people of color, particularly Africans, Native Americans, right? People who come into this country that aren't white usually, they have a particular stigma associated with them. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, for example, all these issues in the name of power. We have to understand that when it comes to power, we got to change the definition of power. When you look at power, oftentimes it's about what you can do, how you can dominate somebody, right? How you can make somebody else do what you want them to do. But we got to understand that power can't be like that. If you define power in those terms, we always are going to be in a constant struggle, right? So in the United States, power has been defined that way. So historically speaking, has been white people who have claimed that they were superior and dominant, but it was in the name of maintaining power, right? Through capitalism, through the economic system of capitalism, right? And so the highest profits that has been made under the system of capitalism was what? Slavery, right? So what I'm trying to say is that when we think about white supremacy and other forms of power, male domination, for example, or the domination or the so-called superiority of heterosexuals, or the so-called superiority of Christians, and all these different systems, we gotta realize that it's about maintaining power, and it's rooted in greed and hate, right? So when I often question white supremacy. But then I think to myself, I'm a black woman, a heterosexual black woman. How am I also contributing to maintaining white male, elite white male, heterosexual supremacy? And usually it's Christianity. How am I contributing to that? And oftentimes it's we buy into beliefs that, for example, I'm a black woman, I'm heterosexual, but I do not, but I have in the past. I have to wake up, buy into the belief that there's something innately wrong with being gay or lesbian or bisexual or being a part of the LGBT community. Now, I'm being honest about that because these are ideas I had when I was in high school. It's kind of easy to sort of bring that up. But we got to understand that all of us, and I'm not blaming y'all specifically, but I'm talking about in our society, there are pro-white, pro-black ideas that are systemic in this country, and they are systemic, and they are taught through the media. The mass media has a way of brainwashing us, controlling us. They will have us hating and hating the people that are being oppressed and loving our enemies. That's the point of forgiveness. As soon as, when those young men were killed by the police, yeah, everybody was outraged, but as soon as those police officers were killed, the whole narrative changed. Now, all of a sudden, we should forget about this. No, we don't forget. Okay, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with what happened to those police officers, but the thing is this. It's very difficult for me to show the amount of what you would call sympathy for people who work for a system and contribute to the oppression of my people, a system that historically has been to keep us in line. It's very difficult, okay? And I think that's okay. I think that it's okay for us to feel like, wow, like that happened, but what about us? And another thing, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, I think that we have to keep in mind, this is what I'm seeing, particularly in the media. They're trying to divide us. Don't let them do that shit. Excuse my language. Don't let them do it. Please. It's just propaganda. I seen something on Facebook. It said something about all Latino lives matter, and I agree with that. And it was this idea that all Latino lives matter, but no one's talking about this. And so what happened was you don't know if this person is saying it in a sense of we need to also be seen and heard, or the person is saying it in a sense of why isn't the Black Lives Matter talking about this? And so there's what happened on this thread ensued this long debate between, they only care about black people and the media only cares about black people. And then you have literally brown and black folk arguing on the thread. Let's not do that shit. That's bullshit. Period. And I know there's elders out here, y'all I'm upset. Right? So, divide and conquer is a real tactic. It's very effective. We cannot forget about that. But let me make this clear. I understand, and I think that the leaders and the members that are a part of the actual Black Lives Matter movement, like you all that are participating in this and pushing it forward, I think we all understand that. I think we understand that all lives should matter. I think we also understand should, but they don't. But they don't. They don't. Because if they did, why would I be wasting my time out here talking about some shit that doesn't exist? There's no way. I would love to live my life, in privilege where I don't got to think about half of the stuff we're thinking about. I don't want to think about sexism. I don't want to think about racism. I don't want to think about none of this, but we do because it exists and it's very real. Okay, so all lives should matter, but they don't. And it's important for us to make sure that we do highlight the fact that Native Americans are also being killed at a disproportionate rate. Yes. Also, is right. We gotta highlight those things. That the brown community is also being killed by the police. That the black community is also, you gotta highlight all these things. But it's not simply the police. It's a system as a whole. We are uncomfortable sometimes at our job. We have to sort of put on a white mask and take it off when we're with our family. That's crazy to me. Our teacher said they'll stay and shoot. This may be in the media, and who knows? My president might call me. but that's life. And so when you're fighting against oppression, when you are resisting and we're receiving resistance to our resistance. That's crazy when you got people saying, no, blue lives matter, no, all lives matter. That's resistance to our resistance. It's interesting. It's a real waste of time, but that, people want to spend that energy doing that, right? But what I'm saying is to you all, and I'm gonna end on this. I mean, we've been fighting a long time, and I have to be hopeful. I have to have faith that things will change, and I may not see it in my lifetime, for example, but it's our responsibility to do our part. Okay, everybody did their part. If it wasn't for Africans resisting on them slave ships, for example, resisting on them plantations, for example, I wouldn't be here right now, right? Everything that black people and people of color, everything we have, everything that black people, particularly people of color, Native Americans, brown folk, everything that we have in the United States of America is because we fought for it. Ain't nothing was getting to us. Nothing. Name one thing that was given to us. We fought for everything. And even when we get those things, those so-called constitutional rights, they're still violated every day. So, the only thing I can say to you is that today matters. Us being out here together, sharing, being together as a community, it matters. And fighting, speaking out against police brutality, but it doesn't stop here. You have to be, we are asking or requiring that athletes speak out or entertainers speak out. They say, you got a job, you got this money, got this platform, you do that. But you know what? Even though you may not be an athlete or a superstar, you still have a platform. You need to speak out, right? And we're asking those people, Beyonce, for example, to risk her fan base and make those numbers. She may lose a little bit of money, right? But the thing is, we're asking that, so we need to also do the same thing too. And I understand we make less money than Beyonce. Trust me, I get that. But we still gotta be fearless. We have to be fearless. We cannot live in fear, or else this thing is gonna keep on going. So my advice to everybody and for myself, because I have to internalize this every day, when things happen on my campus, things happen in society, I gotta decide if I'm gonna say something or if I'm gonna be a punk, right? And if, that's just me. And I know a lot of things is right on there, my job and all of that, right? But I say, you know what? I gotta keep God first and just me, and be fearless. So my thing to y'all is be fearless and keep walking the walk, keep fighting the power.
Wow, this is beautiful. Give it up for yourselves for being here today. Wow. I was asked by Abram Macias to come and speak today, and it took me a minute to agree because I thought, wow, I don't have the answers. I'm a hip-hop artist. My name is Mickey Vale, and I figured I'd just come speak from an artist's perspective, the things that I see as an artist. I didn't see the video. I haven't watched the video of Philando Castile, the murder that's been circulating. I can't. I don't intend to, because my spirit can't take it. And I know it exists. I know it exists. It's been existing for decades now, and we've been trying to answer the age-old question for decades of how to protect ourselves from the brutality and terrorism that's waged against our communities. I think a lot of times we have to start from within. We have to make sure that our spirits are intact, because we are being bombarded with so many emotions, and we have to make sure we're intact, because we can't have a community we're not going to get anything done with a community of broken people. So we have to make sure that our spirits are intact so that we can act. As an artist, coming from an artist's perspective, I believe it's our responsibility, not everybody. If you're not there yet, if that's not where you're at, then hopefully one day that's where you'll be. But I feel like more and more, as things are getting more and more crucial, as an artist, we need to step up. We need to say some shit. It can't always be turn up. It can't. And we have to, as consumers of music, we kind of have to have a check and balances for ourselves too, in real life. Because I worked in clubs every week. The shit, honestly, the music killed my spirit. It hurt me. The music hurt me. Because what do we do when we hear hot nigga? Just caught a body about a week ago. Turn up. We're entertained by our own genocide. We're entertained by our own genocide. It's not a game. Music is programming. It's played over and over and over and over again. That's programming. So when we say, yeah, turn up. Bitches ain't shit, buttholes and tricks, yeah. And hip-hop is an affirmative language. What do we do when we hear a hot beat? We nod our head, yeah. We're internalizing that. We're subconsciously saying yes to everything that's coming to us through the airwaves. We can't do that anymore. That shit is not cool. We can't. As an artist, I cannot continue to see my people being killed and feel good about hearing somebody talk about killing a black man in a rhyme. I can't feel good about that. And as consumers, we can't make it capitalizable. I made up a word. Capitalizable for that music to exist. We can't. And there's balance to all things, but we have to, as artists, we just have to be conscious of what the vibrations that we're putting out into the world. We really do. How many people know a rapper? Know anybody who raps? Your cousin, your nephew, your little niece? We all know rappers, because everybody raps. How many people listen to hip-hop? Right. That shows how powerful hip-hop is. It's so powerful. So we gotta do better. We gotta do better. Because this is the image that we're putting out. If we don't show love for ourselves, if we can't be love, we can't expect to see love. You gotta be change to see change. You can't change the mindset of something. The racism is so deeply embedded into this society. I'm not gonna say it'll never go away, but it's deep. It's so deep. And you can't change somebody who doesn't see any error in what they're doing. So sometimes we have to go within and make sure that we have checks and balances for ourselves. And elders, even my friends and I, we were talking about this recently. I'm a lot older than I look. And as grown people, we see some shit that doesn't look right, check them. We have to do these things. Check them. We can't be afraid to say, yo, this shit ain't cool. We have to build soldiers. We have to set examples for these young people. We need soldiers on the front line to fight this ongoing fight that's been going on for so long. So we have to be the example for these children who are watching everything we do and listening to everything we say and internalizing everything that's being being presented to them. We have to be examples. Now, what do we do about the police brutality? I don't know. But I know what I can do when I leave here is be conscious of everything all my choices, make conscious choices and conscious decisions. Go out, make sure we have healthy people, because we need health. We need healthy minds, emotionally, spiritually. We need to be healthy because we have to be on the front line. So all of us do our part. All of us do it from the heart. I'm gonna end with a rhyme real quick. And if you guys want to join in on the hook, it's just right on. It's right on, WRITE on, for artists, poets, MCs, writers. I feel like art is such a huge vehicle for change. So, real quick. Pay homage. We all God's beautiful creatures. I ain't trying to be a preacher, I'm just trying to reach you, trying to teach you. The system was designed to beat you down to the ground, leave you with the permanent frown. Say fuck Babylon, yo, we burning it down. Being the queen takes work, I'm just earning my crown. Sure as the sounds of self-whispering within my ancestors breathe life through my pen to ride on, like the sky is falling. Like my childhood is calling, my car stalling in a horror flick. So I gotta get free from these demons that are following me. Take a big sip, swallow the tea from the tree of life. I see the light, that's why I can't sleep at night, knowing that my nephews ain't being treated right, and their schools barely teaching how to read and write. We won't join them, we'll beat them. Freedom fight, right on. Cause you feel like you got no choice, right on. For the people who ain't got no voice, right on. For the people that's going to war and don't even understand what they fighting for, right on. Cause you know this government is fake, right on. Cause you have about all you can take, right on. Cause you know time's slipping away and you feel in your heart you got something to say. Live today like tomorrow isn't promised to you. You never know when Popo's gonna do you. 41 shots to the sky, throw your hands high. We can't stand by and watch another man die, another mother cry, another Bush falsify information. We'll buck them down at the inauguration. Change gonna come, be patient. We got the food for thought to feed nations, right on. Cause you feel like you got no choice, right on. For the people who ain't got no voice, right on. For the people that's going to war and don't even understand what they fighting for, right on. Cause you know this government is fake, right on. Cause you have about all you can take, right on. Cause you know time's slipping away and you feel in your heart you got something to say. Right on, yo.
So the next speaker is Jordan.
We out here and like a couple of other speakers said, divide and conquer is a pretty effective method. You come here and we see Black Lives Matter, and then you have people who like to say, well, you know, like they said, all lives matter or all this. The statement was never only Black Lives Matter. You have to and you have to understand what that really means. Let's look at it. Let's look at like race. It's not a real thing. Like, prime example, February 2016 of this year, Hispanic just legally became a race. Look it up. Not kidding with you. February 2016 of this year, the Supreme Court Justice decided that, oh, well, they're a race now. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not real. So when we say all Black Lives Matter, we are actually speaking for everybody. Now, I came out here last year, like I just got to San Diego, only been here for about a year. And when I came out here, I was all fired up. We had the Freddie Gray March, and I felt inspired. And I'm still inspired, but now I'm tired. Like, I saw Philando get murdered, and that was a unicorn. And when I say that's a unicorn, I mean like that was the black guy with no record, with a concealed and carry, who was with the girl that he had a kid by. They were together. He complied, and he died looking at his wife, he died looking at his girlfriend, not knowing if she made it, with his child in the back. Like, that hurt me. And as I'm here, like, I'm trying not to get emotional or something like that, because apparently it's a bad thing. But as I'm here, I'm wondering, like, what do we do? Like, we come here, everybody who's here right now, whether you're a part of our organization or nothing, you're a leader. Like, you're gonna take something from this today. Like, you're not gonna come out here, we're not just gonna march, we're not gonna, call slow down and stuff like that. Protests are good for one thing and one thing only, and that's gathering people. We're here now. You had all these other organizations and all these things that I didn't even know about before. Like, walking up on the stage, I saw this stuff, like the Stolen Lives. Do you see those names? I don't know any of those names. I don't know any of those names, just like I don't know any of you. That means any of you could be on there at any point in time. So what do? Like they say, you organize, make sure you get in contact with somebody. You have to educate yourselves. What I mean by educate yourselves is know how to have these conversations in uncomfortable places, like at work. Like, for example, I'm an active duty United States Marine. I could literally get in a lot of crap for being up here right now. But what are you willing to risk? What are you willing to risk? Like, I can really get in a lot for this. So what are you willing to risk? So the things, like, prime example, the things like when you hear people say things like, okay, what about black on black crime? Well, you have to understand that that's a myth. It doesn't exist. Crime is based solely off the demographics of your area. That means if I live in a predominantly white neighborhood and I go out and commit a violent crime, well, guess what? It's probably going to be against a white guy. Now, why am I saying this to you? Yeah, you may know this, but this is the things you have to convey to those who do not know. Like, for example, I have friends, obviously, on Facebook who do not really understand what's going on right now. Because I'm in the military, I meet all types of people. They get out, you see the true colors. Now, I don't block these people, even when they say they're racist and they're bigot things. I don't block these people because I have to understand how they think. You have to understand how you can't just shut them out as they try and do you. You have to understand how they think so you can understand how to reach them.
So the system has designed itself in such a way that I have to be presentable. That I have to make sure that I've got my ID on me at all times and I'm not driving down in Southeast with a broken tail light. I've got 2 young boys at home, 2 little black boys, 2 years old and 5 and a half. Hezekiah and Jay Lee are their names. And every night I have to look them in their eyes and pray for a better world. And hope for a better world in which they might even be able to live as long as I'm, as old as I am. I fear for the world in which they have to live in. And yet we come to these places and we gather on these lawns in this community when really we probably should be in Southeast where we could really make a statement of Black Lives Matter. But we're here. And what is most important for you to do when you leave this place after you walked around and we've shouted and we've chanted and we've yelled at the police? The thing that you need to do, white people, is you need to go to your family of origin. Your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, your grandmother, and you need to have conversations with them. If you're looking for something to do, to make an impact, coming here is great. You feel good about yourself, but white folks, you need to go home and talk about the issue. Not a lot of people want to clap on that because that means change will come. That means work has to be done. That means hearts have to be touched, and perhaps even relationships have to be broken. I'm encouraged to be here. I'm tired of being here. I am sick and tired of being here. And yet I've got to be here. Because you need to know what a black man looks like so that you can have an image in your head of one living and not only dead. Black man, me.
Thank you, Reverend. I'd like to introduce the Reverend Kathleen Owens. She's the senior minister at First Unitarian Universalist Church in San Diego.
What an honor, what a need. And because we are a people in need, joined together by our need for justice, for our need for a deeper sense of community, I'm going to ask you to join me in prayer. Whether you believe or you don't, we need to be in a spirit of prayer and meditation to gather ourselves for the strength for the journey that lies ahead. Spirit of life and God of many names and no names, we are here today in grief. We are here today mourning not only for the deaths of Alton Sterling and Philando, Castile, but for the deaths of the brown and the black bodies, all those names we do not know. All those who have been killed by excessive police force, killed by questionable means, dead due to systemic racism, not only in our society, but within the very structures and systems meant to keep people safe, that are supposed to help and not harm. And dear God, we are angry. Our hearts are broken. Our heads ache trying to make sense out of all of this, and our spirits are weary of the constant stream of violence that continues to divide the human family. And with all of this, it is all too easy to give in to despair, to give in to apathy, to give in to hate and revenge. But we know that we are called to be better than that. Spirit of love, you lead us into a different way of being. You call us into action. You call us into solidarity with one another so that we might demonstrate the truth that hate and racism will not divide us, that bigotry and violence will not stop us from living out the truth that we are all connected, and that we can choose to see one another clearly. It is time for us to do the work of justice for all our neighbors and kin. It is time to find a way beyond the stereotypes and the fear and create meaningful change in our streets, in our neighborhoods, in our families. We pray for the strength to do the hard work of real relationship building. Give us patience to learn and to listen to one another. Give us courage to speak out against white privilege and systemic racism. Give us the wisdom to work with leaders that will ensure equal protection under the law for all of us. Oh God, help us continue the work for racial justice. And in the name of all that is holy, we say amen. Amen. Let us go forth.
And finally, I bring you the Reverend Madison Shockley, Senior Minister of Pilgrim United Church of Christ in Carlsbad.
Thank you, Reverend Beth, Reverend Owens, Reverend Hill. We're here to make our contribution to this movement as faith leaders. When we look back in our history, of course, we know that there was the Black Panthers, amen? Amen. And SCLC needed the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers needed SCLC. And Roy Ennis needed Stokely Carmichael. So we need each other. Black Lives Matter has a contribution to make, and they are making it. The faith community has a contribution to make, and I'm not quite sure we're making it. We need to stand up and step up. Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter. You can do better than that. Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter. 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 There ain't nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong at all with saying that. I'll just tell a quick story. My 29-year-old son and his cousin and friend were standing on a sidewalk in West Hollywood on March 15th of this year. Cop pulled up. Sirens, jumped out of the car, hands on their guns. They're just standing on the sidewalk. And then when they got out of their cars, they told them all of them, put your hands on the car, put your hands on the hood of the car. As my nephew was walking toward the car that was in the street, the police car from the sidewalk, he had his car keys in his hands, and instinctively as he was walking, he went to put them in his pocket. Officers then raised the gun, aimed it straight and said, don't you move! Don't you move! Then the officer said to my son, nephew, and their friend, we're out here getting killed every day. That's what the officer said to my son and nephew and their friend. How ironic. But this is the mentality that is starting to take hold in police departments across the nation, and we've got to fight that mentality. The fact is, first of all, none of us, nothing about this movement condones the killing of police officers. Nothing at all. This is not a homicidal movement. This is a movement for life. But the fact is, 27 officers were killed by felonious acts in 2015 in the entire United States. But to hear that officer and the mentality of others, you would have think it was hundreds and hundreds of officers. One is too many. All lives are valued by those who hold them. And we come to say Black Lives Matter is not a homicidal movement, it's a movement of life. What we learned in that encounter after we met with the officer 3 months later to ask him face to face, why did you stop me? Why did you raise your gun? What they told us was that a police officer makes a commitment to give up their life to protect your life. And that's a noble thing and a noble profession. But a police officer is also vested with the authority to take your life to protect their life. And the difference between those two decisions is whether they look at you and see a suspect or a citizen. They'll give up their life for a citizen, but they'll take your life if they think you're a suspect. And too many of them look at Reverend Hill and myself and my son and my nephew and his friends and all y'all young black men out here and see nothing but suspects. We've got serious work to do in changing the policies and practices and mentality of policing in the United States of America, or these deaths will continue. The theme of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, its motto and purpose, as Reverend Beth alluded to, their motto was to save the soul of America. We are not here just to save black lives. We're here to save black lives. But understand that when we save black lives, we have the byproduct and the consequence of saving white souls. Because I don't want you to be guilty of murder. I don't want you to murder me, and I don't want you to be guilty of murder. I don't want you to have to live with the guilt of knowing whether or not the court convicted you. Your heart convicts you. When you pull that trigger because all you saw was a suspect, and then you investigate and find that this gentleman, Alton Sterling, had the license to do what he was doing, to drive that vehicle and to possess that car, and that Philando Castile was doing nothing but trying to make a living. I don't want you to be guilty of murder, and that's why black lives must matter. And anyone who has a true heart to understand this movement doesn't really need to ask. They already know. Blue lives have always mattered. And so when Black Lives Matter, we save our lives and our bodies, but we save the soul of this nation. And that is our objective, is to save this country from itself, from its insanity, from its racism, to disabuse white people of their false delusion and illusion of supremacy. And when they can come down from that very high mountain, then you can all just get along. And that's all we're after, is to save our lives and to save the soul of this nation. Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Amen.